18 years after he laughed at her dream, an incredible transformation revealed her as his true love. Sarah stood outside the town hall, her heart racing, the veneer of confidence flaking under the weight of years. It was the moment she'd worked for, the culmination of long nights and relentless grind. In mere minutes, she'd present her eco-home model to the council, yet Jake, her childhood friend turned slick developer, waited inside, practically mocking every ambition she ever dared to share. The sting of laughter echoed in her mind. It had been more than just a dismissal. It was a blow that cracked her unwavering dreams, shoving her into endless struggle. Her hands trembled, reflecting the turmoil within her. Could she really face him again? Everything felt metastasizing and chaotic as she stepped through the threshold. The mundane chatter of patrons faded, replaced by the electric tension coursing through her veins. What if she faltered? What if her vision, her last hope to save her father's crumbling legacy, crumbled under Jake's critique? It would prove him right. The irony gnawed at her, the boy who once shared her architectural dreams now a gatekeeper ready with polished dismissals and industry smirks. Did he even remember? Or maybe he thrived on the memory, a reminder of how far he'd come while she battled on the brink. As Sarah unfolded her blueprints, her voice quaked, but she steeled herself, channeling the tediously cultivated drive that had seen her through hardship. My design addresses key issues in Maplewood. We can implement sustainable energy sources, resilient against environmental changes. She pushed ahead, but inside, a storm raged. What if they saw the superficial flaws? What if Jake announced her project too idealistic to stand? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The council leaned in, but Jake's demeanor shifted, scrutinizing her like she was the simple girl from their past. How can you turn a profit on this? He challenged, the confidence in his tone emphasizing everything she feared. Their eyes locked, an undercurrent of unresolved tension buzzing around them. She could feel the hostility radiating off him, yet also a flicker of something softer, a hint of remorse. But she didn't need his pity. The conversation escalated, tension thickening the air. A push and pull of ideas danced between them, layered with both animosity and a visceral attraction that rooted deeply in shared history. An unfamiliar, electric sensation teased her senses. Could they ignite something new? Despite the years of silence that followed that fateful laughter, but a sudden announcement from the council cut through, a threat. A competing developer wanted to seize the town, bulldozing Sarah's dreams. Panic clutched at her throat, and as Jake's brow furrowed in honest concern, she grappled with the burgeoning connection igniting between them. After all these years, could they stand together against a common foe? Or would this resurgence of feelings reveal a fracture too deep to bridge? With their futures suspended on the brink of indecision, the stakes surged higher. Where would this twist of fate lead them? Sarah's heart hammered as she faced the council, the oppressive weight of the impending decision clinging heavily to her chest. The stark realization settled in, not only was her project at stake, but her father's legacy, the very foundation upon which she had built her dreams, was about to be noted as a casualty in the battle of development versus preservation. A competing developer? She echoed, barely able to keep her composure. Her voice trembled, but she fought back, the instinctual panic rising within. All those late nights spent drafting, sketching, outlining her vision for a sustainable Maplewood, only to have it threatened by someone who saw numbers rather than a community. Jake had gone quiet, his expression unreadable, as if his thoughts were trapped beneath the surface of a tumultuous ocean. Their shared history flashed through her mind, endless summer days building treehouses, nights discussing the merits of environmental design. Suddenly, he hadn't been just an adversary, he was also a mirror reflecting the potentiality of her past, one filled with aspirations that now felt crushed underfoot. Sarah, Jake finally broke the silence, his voice steady yet laced with an intensity she hadn't anticipated. You have to recognize that this isn't just about your passion. It's also about viability. Show them how this can be profitable. The unyielding business strategist she had once come to resent was now making her question everything she had believed she stood for. Her instinct was to dismiss him. Anger bubbled at the outset. How dare he? But something within her hesitated. Anger was easy, it felt satisfying. But was it productive? What if, just for a moment, she looked through his lens? What if he had a point buried beneath layers of bravado? The rationalization swept through her, igniting a flicker of hope. Perhaps reformulating her pitch could show not just the dream, but also the calculations that secured it. What if I can integrate profitable features? The eco-homes can be marketed to environmentally conscious buyers, reducing energy costs and appealing to modern sensibilities, she replied, trying to harness the power of possibility rather than stagnation. Jake watched her, a cloud of uncertainty swirling in his expressions. For the first time, his defensive demeanor softened, and she caught a glimpse of the boy she once knew, youthful passion flashing through his eyes, a challenge she had thrown down. Could they breathe life into this together? Then back it up with data. Real projections, he challenged, but there was a dash of something else in his tone, encouragement, even an invitation. Let us face this together. I have the contacts, and if you're willing, we can form a partnership. Her heart raced at the thought. Could she really collaborate with him? The invitation felt like a tightrope walk over an abyss of past resentments, but the stakes were too high to disregard opportunity. Together? She echoed, a mix of hope and fear coiling in her gut. Yeah. You might just need a developer's perspective to get your vision off the ground, he stated firmly, as if sealing the deal. Their eyes locked again, the tension crackling. This was no longer animosity, it was a crossing of paths filled with potential. The silence thickened as she sought the balance of trust against the backdrop of past betrayals, a new chapter calling to her. The momentary truce was fragile, a tightrope walk over a chasm of confusion. Decisions loomed ahead, but one question echoed louder than the rest: could Sarah embrace the opportunity while leaving behind the echoes of betrayal? As she weighed her options, a new urgency sparked within. The time had come to redefine her trajectory. Would she find common ground with the boy who once laughed at her dreams, or would history repeat itself? With her future hanging delicately in the balance, Sarah could feel the path ahead beckoning. But as she poised to take the leap, would her heart ultimately guide her or betray her once again? The meeting room was an airless capsule, stifling and thick with unspoken doubts as Sarah glanced at the digital clock on the wall. Time seemed to conspire against her. Jake's proposal hovered in the back of her mind like a persistent ghost. She needed clarity, but the history they shared ensnared her with its unresolved threads. Could she trust him again, or was this merely a calculated move? She leaned back, allowing the richness of her ideas to swirl through her thoughts. The vision for Maplewood was not just a project, it was her father's legacy bound tightly with her own aspirations. The fragile truce they had forged was exhilarating, yet also terrifying. How could she blend her passionate vision with the required pragmatic business approach without sacrificing her integrity? Data, she whispered under her breath, the word punctuating her thoughts with resolve. She had spent years steeped in concepts and designs, but she realized now that numbers could speak as loudly as her passion. Metrics of sustainability, projected energy savings, and demographic shifts in consumer behavior, these could be her tools. As she left the meeting room, determination surged within her. Sarah was no longer just the girl with a dream, she was a professional armed with purpose. How ironic that Jake, once a rival, now seemed to hold the key to unlock her potential. She had long viewed him as a source of conflict, but now he was a collaborator, embodying the convergence of her past aspirations and present needs. The days that followed blurred into a frenetic tapestry of late nights and extensive research. Sarah poured herself into projections and analyses, crafting a comprehensive plan that blended sustainable innovation with market viability. She researched eco-home statistics, studied trends in green consumerism, reached out to potential partners, and refined her pitch, ensuring it didn't ascribe to the caricature of idealism alone. Still, self-doubt whispered in the corners of her mind, a persistent adversary. What if Jake was right to doubt her? The specter of failure haunted her late-night brainstorming sheets, but she chose to confront it head-on. She would not let fear guide her decisions. She had a tangible vision now, one grounded in achievable results. When she finally met Jake again to share her progress, the weight of anticipation pressed down on her. The familiar tension hung in the air, but there was a new dynamic. Equality in their shared purpose began to replace old frustrations. Jake's eyes widened as she presented her projections on a sleek digital display. "This can work," he conceded, leaning closer, scrutinizing every dollar sign and percentage. "You meticulously showed how the project would not only be sustainable but profitable. But we still have to convince the council." Energized by his response, Sarah felt the urge to reach out and grasp this alliance. "We can draft a public campaign," she proposed, a creative spark igniting her thoughts. "Let us leverage social media to build community interest. What if we highlighted the benefits of these eco-homes not just as a real estate investment, but also as an investment in future generations?" She watched as he absorbed her suggestion, the wheels visibly turning in his mind. A potential partnership was emerging, marked by collaboration rather than competition. Yet, a flicker of unease sparked at the back of her mind as lingering remnants of their past reached out, testing her willingness to trust that as they aligned their plans, the very essence of their partnership began to reshape Sarah. She was growing more confident, a formidable combination of creativity and intuition surfacing at last. But as they delved deeper into preparations, an unexpected obstacle arose: a contentious council member with a personal vendetta against change, and this time, the stakes were higher than just ambition. Would she summon the courage needed to stand firm before the opposition, or would her past fears resurface, endangering not only her father's legacy but the future she envisioned? Sarah's heart thrummed with uncertainty as she stood at the precipice of momentous decisions. The upcoming council meeting would either cement her evolution or threaten to unravel her newly forged path. And in that moment, she had to confront the most daunting question of all: could she truly become the leader she needed to be, or would she falter when it counted the most? The morning sun filtered through the tall windows of the community hall, casting streaks of golden light that danced over rows of empty chairs. As Sarah prepared her notes for the council meeting, she felt the weight of an impending storm press against her chest. This was not merely about eco-homes or the potential of Maplewood, it was a manifestation of her inner battle, an assessment of her worth and capability as a leader. She paced in total silence, her mind racing with the implications of what was to come. This council member, Mr. Hargrove, had a reputation as a traditionalist, a rock-solid fixture in the community who viewed anything new with distrust. That evening, his criticisms could easily shatter the dream she had begun to solidify with Jake. If she faltered in this moment, the fear of failure would haunt her not just professionally but personally, unveiling questions about her own conviction and leadership. In a bid to stave off the rising tide of uncertainty, Sarah resumed her preparations. She meticulously reviewed her proposal, a visual representation of her vision that had morphed from dream to concrete strategy. With her laptop open, the graphs and figures replaced her anxiety with focused data. Didn't lie. Everything she had poured into this project radiated authenticity, but it was her delivery that would sway the council. As she practiced her pitch in front of a mirror, she recalled snippets of her father's advice, echoes of his encouragement lingering in the air. His unwavering belief in her dreams resonated deep within her, a reminder that passion could ignite change, but conviction was required to lead it. With a deep breath, Sarah focused on wrapping her voice in certainty. She envisioned herself not just as a woman advocating for a project, but as a beacon of hope, representing the values her father had instilled in her. She imagined standing tall in front of the council, using her knowledge and passion to sway even the most indifferent minds. Just before she left for the meeting, Jake called. His voice grounded her, laced with the same determination she was trying to cultivate. "You've got this, Sarah. Just remember, you're not alone in this fight. We're a team." His faith sparked something within her. Doubt transformed into a resolve laced with camaraderie. Yet, as she headed to the hall, a creeping fear slithered back. What if Mr. Hargrove ridiculed her? What if her dreams were dismantled in front of her like fragile glass? The council chamber loomed before her, an imposing structure of authority. Sarah stepped inside, her pulse quickening as council members buzzed like bees around their hive. A murmur rose when she caught sight of Mr. Hargrove, his arms crossed, face stoic. The gravity of her aspirations bore down heavily. She must engage with him, face the obstacle head-on. As she approached the podium, she locked eyes with Jake, sitting in the audience. For a fleeting moment, their connection bolstered her. "Thank you all for being here today," she began, the tremor in her voice barely masked by the confidence she tried to project. "I'm here to talk about Maplewood, a vision of sustainable living, an investment in future generations." The initial sounds of pen on paper filled the silence. Mr. Hargrove's gaze pierced through the room, questioning her very presence. Gritting her teeth, Sarah pressed onward, feeding off the growing momentum of her own determination. The slide she had crafted lit up, showcasing not just static figures but a vibrant reality that beckoned to the council. Yet, just as she began to sense a shift in sentiment, Hargrove interjected. "And why should we trust you? A mere dreamer trying to sell pipe dreams?" The accusation hung heavy in the air, and Sarah felt the world tilt beneath her. Confronting that doubt could either limit her potential or redefine her journey. Her heart raced as her mind spiraled into questioning whether she had the stamina to transition from the girl he once dismissed into the formidable leader she aspired to be. Would the next moments shape her destiny, or further entangle her in a web of doubt and fear? This was her moment. The stakes were impossibly high, and the foundation of her leadership hung in the balance. Taking a deep breath, Sarah prepared to challenge the very skepticism that threatened to consume her. What began as a desperate battle for validation had turned into a defining confrontation, one that could either galvanize her ascent or send her crashing back into obscurity. With that thought etched in her mind, she steadied herself, ready to face Mr. Hargrove. The moment of truth had arrived, and she was determined to seize it. Would she rise to meet the animosity with courage, or would she allow past fears to dictate her future? Every heartbeat felt like a drum roll announcing the precarious dance of her aspirations against Hargrove's thunderous skepticism. Sarah squared her shoulders, pushing past her fear. She wasn't just addressing the council, she was conversing with her past, the doubts that had long haunted her since childhood, wrapped tightly in the guise of Mr. Hargrove's disapproval. "I appreciate your concern, Mr. Hargrove," she replied, her voice steadying into a measured tone. "But this proposal isn't a pipe dream. It's based on solid evidence and best practices from successful sustainable projects across the country. We stand at a crucial junction. If we do not evolve, we risk being left behind." As she spoke, Sarah felt a thread of her father's unwavering belief weaving through her words. This wasn't just about persuading her audience, it was about reclaiming her narrative and proving to herself that she could withstand the pressures against her. Hargrove's skepticism no longer felt insurmountable, instead, it served as fuel igniting the fire in her. "Without change, Maplewood may very well stagnate," she continued, her eyes shifting from Hargrove's unyielding gaze to the other council members, seeking connection in their varying expressions. "Imagine families thriving in energy-efficient homes, children playing in green spaces designed for their health, and our economy benefiting from ecotourism. This is not just my vision, it's a vision that belongs to all of us if we choose to take this step." A flicker of interest brushed through the audience, and she seized that moment, extending her hands as if inviting them into her dream. "The data I've gathered demonstrates measurable impacts on community well-being and financial benefits. We're talking about revitalizing our town, attracting new businesses and residents. It's a win-win." Still, Hargrove remained unmoved, his brow furrowed in thought. "And what is the cost? Renovating our infrastructure for such a project doesn't come cheap. You must have considered the financial impact." His question struck at the heart of her fears. Could she provide a financially sound justification without undermining her vision? The fear threatened to constrict her, but Sarah centered herself again, reminding herself of the countless hours spent on every detail of this project. "Absolutely, I've anticipated that," she replied, her heart pounding but her tone unwavering. The initial investments may seem daunting, yet studies show they often pay for themselves in energy savings, increased property values, and job creation. I can provide you with a breakdown of projected costs versus long-term benefits. Maplewood can gain a reputation as a pioneer in sustainable living, attracting funding and grants aimed at eco-initiatives. Watching the council members digest her words, Sarah saw a shift, furrowed brows lightened slightly, skeptical expressions softened ever so slightly. Breathing a little easier, she pressed forward. The foundation of her case was solid, even if her nerves felt tangled, yet doubts bubbled beneath the surface. Was she equipped enough to counter each rebuttal Hargrove would bring forth? She caught Jake's reassuring nod from the back of the room, reminding her that she didn't have to navigate this alone. In that instant, clarity surged within her. This wasn't just about proving herself to Hargrove, it was about redefining who she was and what she stood for. Mr. Hargrove, I believe in the strength of this community, our ability to adapt and grow. I want to be a part of that growth. All I am asking for is an opportunity to invest in our future. Will you give me that chance to show you the potential we hold? A moment passed that felt heavy with possibility, and she dared not breathe. Had she done enough to truly challenge him, to spark a flicker of change? The silence in the room was deafening, each second stretching her emotions taut. She stayed poised, ready for whatever Mr. Hargrove had in store, her nerves taut as violin strings. She felt the weight of the room, the collective breath holding in. Anticipation. Would he bend, or would her dreams shatter at the hands of traditionalism? As Mr. Hargrove's mouth opened to respond, the tension in her chest built, a storm of hope and fear swirling within her. The moment hung suspended. Would she find her footing, or would the very ground fall away beneath her? When Mr. Hargrove finally spoke, it wasn't the response Sarah anticipated. His words sliced through the tension, a pragmatic riposte that left her breathless. I'll consider your proposal, Ms. McBride, but this will require more than just data and passion. It necessitates collaboration, not just consensus. Are you prepared for that? The question reverberated in her mind, resonating with the deeper fears of her own journey. Collaboration implied daunting meetings, negotiations that could stretch her thin, and constant compromises that might dilute her vision. The prospect of opening herself to other opinions and potential rebukes felt as overwhelming as encountering Hargrove's dismissive gaze once more. Yes, I am, she replied, her voice gaining strength as resolve replaced hesitation. Bringing people together is part of the process. I'm ready to engage with those who might disagree but are willing to participate in the conversation. As she left the council chambers, she couldn't shake the weight of Hargrove's challenge. Collaboration. It sounded so noble, yet beneath it lay her lingering fears of inadequacy, of being overshadowed or questioned again. But those feelings could not eclipse her ambition. She had stepped beyond her past. Now, she had to step into the collaborative future she envisioned. In the days that followed, Sarah immersed herself in her work, dissecting not just the proposal but her own expectations. To build a bridge, she needed more than just data, she needed allies. Crafting her next steps demanded a well-honed strategy that would ensure her voice retained its clarity even amidst collaboration. What exactly would that look like? She began reaching out first to council members who appeared interested, then to local business owners, environmentalists, and community leaders. Each conversation felt like a building block toward a larger goal, a tapestry woven from disparate threads. A meeting here, a lunch there, a determination ignited in her spirit. Yet still, her nerves quaked with reminders of past humiliation. An old schoolmate approached her at a cafe, someone who had once laughed at her ambitions in school. He wanted to talk about her plans. It took everything within her not to let self-doubt gloss over her courage. Instead, she smiled. I'm excited about the possibilities Maplewood has. I'd love to share my vision with you. Through discussions, she discovered layers of resistance mixed with intrigue. Not everyone understood the weight of sustainable development, nor were they keen on new ideas. Some clung tightly to traditional methods, while others accepted change but feared its implications. This spectrum of perspectives tested her own beliefs, compelling her to articulate her vision more clearly, to inspire and persuade rather than simply inform. One evening, long after her usual hours, Sarah spread out her notes and every piece of feedback she had gathered across the conference table at home. Exhaustion tugged at her, but she found herself energized in a way that felt deeply fulfilling. The drive to refine her proposal was punctuated by the knowledge that personal growth demanded discomfort. With every phone call made, every conversation held, her confidence solidified like the steel in a skyscraper. She was growing not just in her understanding of others but in her sense of self. Fears began to diminish, they transformed into confidence that coursed through her, more substantial than the doubts that had once ruled her life. As she laid down her pen, a brilliant idea sparked in her mind. A community forum, an event designed to showcase her vision while inviting discourse. This could be the platform to engage and inspire a wider audience. But could she handle the larger stage, with Hargrove likely in attendance, scrutinizing every detail? Sarah hesitated for a moment, steeped in both excitement and fear. The stakes were climbing, and so were the obstacles. Would this be her moment of true influence, or would it plunge her back into the shadows of doubt? The time had come to face the immense challenge. Ahead, one that could transform not just the town but her own destiny. Would she falter, or would she step boldly into the spotlight? Sarah spent the next few days consumed by the idea of the forum. She juggled the logistics in her mind, the venue, the date, the potential speakers, and with each passing hour, the sense of urgency propelled her into action. She realized this could be the pivot point in her career, showcasing what she could achieve when she finally embraced collaboration, even at the risk of failure. Her thoughts spiraled, oscillating between trepidation and exhilaration. How had she arrived at such a crucial moment? An invitation for others to express their ideas meant far more than just gathering opinions. It was about revealing her work and courage to the very people who had once cast doubt on her ambitions. She envisioned standing before them, laying bare her vision for Maplewood's future, with Hargrove's critical eyes assessing each gesture and word. As she whispered her fears to the night, she realized the deeper truth: her previous angst had been rooted in not just judgment but a desire for validation. It was no longer just about being right, it was about creating a connection and sharing a vision that could unify disparate voices. She reached out to her contacts, emphasizing the importance of this dialogue. Each engagement polished her pitch, refined her ideas, and brushed aside the remnants of self-doubt. Her phone lit up with enthusiastic responses. People were eager to contribute, keen to discuss the potential of their town. A sense of belief nestled in her heart, growing stronger with every positive reply. But then, amidst this tide of enthusiasm, one hesitating confrontation loomed: Hargrove's reputation as a tough critic. As she prepared for the forum, she found herself obsessively replaying the images of their last exchange, his cold demeanor triggering bouts of insecurity. She sat at her kitchen table, the dim light illuminating her notes strewn around like forgotten dreams, and questioned whether she could hold her ground against him. An internal debate raged. Should she anticipate his challenges and prepare counterarguments, or embrace vulnerability and invite his critical insights? The latter felt terrifying, akin to stripping away her armor. Yet stripping away that armor was precisely what she needed to achieve true connection. The day of the forum arrived, bright and bustling. With a deep breath, Sarah adjusted her blazer in the mirror, noticing for the first time the strength that accompanied her reflection. This was her moment to shine. Stepping onto the podium, she felt an ocean of eyes upon her, each representing a different thread of Maplewood's fabric: small business owners, residents, skeptics, advocates. As she initiated her presentation, weaving her narrative with data and passion, she saw Hargrove in the crowd, seated with an inscrutable expression. It drove her. She focused on the core of her message, explaining why sustainable development mattered not just for the environment but for the soul of the community. The audience shifted, absorbing her words not as a proposal, but as a call to action. With every point she made, her confidence soared, buoyed by the growing nods and murmurs of interest. Midway through her presentation, the unexpected happened. Hargrove raised his hand. A hush enveloped the room. Her heart raced as she navigated the quagmire of emotions, anxiousness tangled with anticipation. Would he tear apart her vision or provide constructive insight? "Ms. McBride," he began, his voice steady yet probing, "how do you plan to address the concerns of those who fear losing their traditional ways?" The question hung ominously in the air, demanding not just an answer, but a testament to her growth and her ability to confront direct opposition. A simmer of determination stirred within her. She smiled, recognizing the weight of the moment. It was time to show not just her proposal but herself. "I believe that by opening a dialogue," she answered, her voice collecting strength, "we can retain valuable traditions while embracing innovation." "They are not mutually exclusive, but rather complementary," as she continued. Weaving in the values of tradition and progress, she caught Hargrove's eye. His earlier skepticism seemed to dissipate, revealing a flicker of interest. This was her opportunity, an opening that could define not only how others viewed her but also how she viewed herself. Was she ready to challenge not just his perspectives but her own deeply rooted insecurities? The answer unwound quietly within her. The forum was no longer simply a convergence of opinions, it was a transformative crucible for her voice, her vision, and her place within the community she desperately sought to impact. As she wrapped up her presentation, an unshakable knowledge washed over her. She had transcended fear, emerging into the clarity of action. But with Hargrove's challenge still fresh in her mind, a new question began to loom, one that felt more critical than any before. What would it truly cost her to ensure this vision came to life? The room buzzed with applause, but her focus remained on Hargrove. Would acceptance come or a new hurdle awaiting her next move? The dance of doubt and resolve had only just begun. The powerful applause faded into a distant hum as Sarah stepped off the podium, each step a mixture of exhilaration and uncertainty. She had done it, her presentation was a success. Yet the true test lay ahead, not merely in the echo of her words, but in the aftermath of their impact. She felt adrift, caught in a whirlwind of emotions, exhilaration clashing with an undercurrent of trepidation. Her gaze darted through the crowd, catching glimpses of familiar faces, now animated with a mix of excitement and curiosity. But Hargrove loomed large in her mind, a formidable figure against the backdrop of this moment. As she navigated the sea of attendees, the thrum of conversation buzzed around her, voices piecing together an understanding she longed to cement. So many questions lingered from her and from them. Had she truly connected? How would they engage with her ideas moving forward? Each new face came with its basket of expectations, some supportive, others skeptical. The weight of their anticipation felt suffocating. "Great job, Sarah," came an enthusiastic voice, jolting her from her reverie. It was Lisa, one of the small business owners she had reached out to in preparation for the forum. Her eyes gleamed with admiration, and for a fleeting moment, Sarah felt affirmed. This was exactly what she needed, the reassurance that her voice mattered. Yet, even while she accepted it, another part of her questioned its authenticity. "Thank you, Lisa," Sarah replied, forcing a smile. "I just hope it resonated." Their conversation flowed easily, but as Lisa spoke excitedly about future collaboration, Sarah's thoughts drifted back to Hargrove, the way his analytical glare seemed to dissect every word she had said. She was unearthing skills she didn't know she had, yet still found herself hungrily seeking his approval. Noting Hargrove still in attendance, Sarah steeled herself to approach him, each step feeling like traversing a tightrope over a vast abyss. Would he appreciate her effort or maintain his stoic indifference? This internal confrontation became a matter of not only her professional worth but also the personal identity she was carving out for herself. "Mr. Hargrove," she called out, catching his attention as he regarded his phone, poised to leave. He looked up, surprise flickering across his features. "Ms. McBride," he said, his tone neutral, but she could sense the scrutiny behind his words. "It would mean a lot to hear what you thought," she said, surprised by the steadiness of her voice. In that moment, she knew she was confronting something deep within, a fear of receiving critique, a dread of being wrong in his eyes. As he paused, assessing her, time stretched. "Your presentation showed promise," he said finally, a poised criticism tucked under his surface praise. But you'll need to back it up with solid plans, not just ideals. A flush of frustration surged through her. I understand, she replied, deliberately keeping her voice steady. But progress relies on getting these ideas out there, sparking conversation first. Change doesn't happen in a vacuum. True, he conceded, but she could hear the gears of skepticism turning beneath his composed exterior. Navigating this intellectual exchange felt liberating. Could she be forging a path towards something deeper? Perhaps this interaction mirrored her own journey, an intertwining of old beliefs colliding with new aspirations. As they parted, Sarah felt a flicker of determination ignite within her. Hargrove's challenge had stirred something in her, revealing the grit that lay dormant. She would prove him wrong, not merely for validation, but to affirm her own evolution. Days passed, and Sarah's energy surged. She poured herself into developing actionable plans from the ambitious ideas she shared at the forum, fueled by her burning desire to connect and lead. She solidified meetings with other advocates, gathering feedback while exploring sustainable initiatives that could directly impact Maplewood, yet, the more she engaged, the more complex her feelings became. Renowned skeptic or potential ally? Where did Hargrove fit into this puzzle? Questions bubbled in her mind. Did he truly care about Maplewood or simply collect intellectual trophies? Soon, an opportunity emerged to address this in a more intimate setting. An invitation found its way to her inbox, a private session organized by local leaders to brainstorm actionable strategies. Hargrove would be there, her resolve steeled. This wasn't merely about asserting her ideas, it was a chance to delve deeper into their relationship dynamic. But what if this time he saw me not just as a project but as a person? This thought clanged in her mind, an internal clash that fueled her desire. The upcoming meeting could either solidify her vision or shatter the fragile confidence she'd painstakingly constructed. The tension was palpable. She sat at her desk, notes piled around her like her thoughts chaotic yet charged. Would she step into the ring and lay bare her ambitions or retreat under the weight of expectation? The moment of truth loomed like a shadow, ready to cast its verdict on her growth. With every pulse of uncertainty, an audacious hope began to crystallize. What if, in embracing this fork in her journey, she laid the groundwork not only for a professional ambition, but perhaps something more profound? Her heart raced at the thought, igniting both a thrill and fear of the unknown. Would she uncover hidden strengths in that upcoming session, or would Hargrove remain simply an immovable barrier to her dreams? The question loomed like a prophecy waiting to unfold. As the day of the meeting approached, Sarah found herself engulfed in a mix of anticipation and dread. This gathering felt like a crucible, one that could either forge her essence or fracture her carefully crafted resolve. Every element of her preparation grew more meticulous, the strategy behind her speaking notes increasingly intricate. Each concept she aimed to present had to resonate not just on paper but also capture the minds of those who would hear it. A moment of hesitation would not be an option. She reviewed her notes obsessively, tracing the outline of her plans as if they were strands of a lifeline. In the quiet hours before sleep, her mind danced through potential questions, anticipated critiques, and counterarguments, especially those she expected from Hargrove. The thrill of possibility surged within her, but so did the tight knot of insecurity. She did not just want to prove him wrong, she craved recognition not merely as a competent professional but as a person worth believing in. The day finally arrived and Sarah walked into the conference room with a determined stride, smoothing her blazer as she scanned the faces seated around the table. Hargrove was seated at the far end, arms crossed, an unreadable expression etched on his face. The tension between them crackled almost audibly, a silent conversation swirling in the air like a force of nature. As the meeting commenced, she felt the energy shift. Each pivotal discussion point echoed back her hours of preparation. Questions from colleagues punctuated her thoughts, the rhythm pushing her to articulate her vision clearly and concisely. Just as she settled into the flow, she caught Hargrove's piercing gaze, unwavering and vigilant. "Sarah," he interjected, his voice shattering her confidence like glass. "You've outlined some strong ideas, but can you clarify how they're actionable? Thinking big is great, but the execution matters most. How do you plan to manage resistance from stakeholders? There it was, the barbed question she had anticipated. Preparedness now mingled with unexpected pressure as she faced him. "I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Hargrove," she replied, her tone steady despite a surge of adrenaline. "Resistance often stems from fear of change. I believe fostering open dialogue and providing demonstrable benefits will ease that fear. I plan to engage key stakeholders in discussions well before any implementation." Hargrove's expression shifted, if only slightly, revealing a glimmer of interest. But she knew that would not suffice for a man as discerning as he. She pressed on, her heart racing as she transitioned into her next point. "Collaboration will be vital," she continued, sketching out her vision on the whiteboard, the colors of her markers vivid against the starkness of the board. The ideas flowed, each one built upon the last, and with every assertion, Sarah felt keys turning within her, unlocking a self-assurance she had never fully recognized in herself. "Not only will we need to articulate the why behind these initiatives," she added, "but also showcase successful precedents, ensuring stakeholders perceive these changes as opportunities rather than threats. Their investment, both emotional and financial, hinges on trust." As she outlined her collaborative approach, she spotted the subtle shifts in her audience's body language, nodding heads and leaning forward, a concerted engagement she had yearned to evoke. But Hargrove's critical eye remained fixed, and at that moment, she did something she had not anticipated. She chose to directly engage him, no longer a mere figure in the crowd. "Mr. Hargrove," she said, countering with resolve, "how do you envision the alignment of innovative ideas with traditional values in this process? I would appreciate your insights." It was a calculated risk, thrusting her under the spotlight not only as an aspirant but as a peer willing to confront one of her fiercest critics. For a moment, the room fell silent. She noticed the conflicted shift in his demeanor. Was it surprise? Approval? Perhaps a fleeting admiration? For someone who dared confront him directly? The tension spun, a finely woven thread hanging in the air between question and answer. "An interesting perspective," he finally replied, his tone softening just the slightest. "I suppose it's essential to find a balance. Perhaps I've underestimated your awareness of this challenge." Her heart raced as the faintest flicker of recognition sparked in his eyes. He was no longer simply an obstacle. By engaging with him openly and ensuring her voice resonated, she had positioned herself as a true contender in this discourse. The realization settled deep within her. She was not just vying for his validation, she was commanding her space, asserting her right to be heard. Yet as the meeting progressed, the underlying tension remained. It was far from resolved. What if this shift meant she would now have to confront deeper conflicts within herself or acknowledge hidden lessons about collaboration that she had yet to learn? As if answering her unspoken thoughts, the session ended, but questions lingered like shadows. How much further would she have to push? What vulnerabilities would be unearthed as she navigated this new dynamic, particularly with Hargrove? The moment felt pivotal, charged with potential yet teetering on the edge of uncertainty. Her journey had taken root, but was she truly ready to embrace the challenges ahead? The revelation bubbled eagerly within her. Just as she had laid bare her ambitions, deeper truths about her capabilities awaited discovery. What lay beneath the surface of this experience, and how far would she have to go to fully unearth her true self? Uncertainty loomed, and the path twisted ahead, teasing her with the promise of transformation. Standing at the precipice of her dreams, Sarah felt the weight she had carried for so long finally lift. The community forum had marked not just a turning point, it had been an awakening. She had transformed from the hesitant girl, a mere shadow of the ambitious architect she once aspired to be, into a woman sowing seeds of change. Each conversation post-forum unfolded like blossoms in spring, revealing the potential for collaboration rather than confrontation. In the days that followed, the energy of her presentation hung in the air, vibrant and full of possibilities. She had garnered interest from a coalition of supporters, individuals who had once observed her with skepticism now engaging with her as equals. Businesses began to express interest in partnering to promote eco-home initiatives, while engagement soared on social media platforms where she shared progress on the project. Yet, amid her professional triumphs, her encounters with Hargrove lingered in her thoughts like compelling invitations to deeper understanding. His acknowledgement, albeit vague, had sparked something in her, an inkling that vulnerability in leadership could lead to authentic relationships. As she prepped for further meetings with her newly formed coalition, she embraced a refreshing resolve: she would invite feedback and challenge herself to express her struggles, not hide them. During a pivotal meeting with prospective investors, Sarah presented alongside Jake, her collaborator. She was ready not just to push her own agenda, but to establish a sincere dialogue with them. "Together, we can redefine what Maplewood stands for," she asserted, igniting excitement in the room. "This vision isn't just about buildings, it's about a sustainable future where everyone can thrive. I'll share our journey, both success and challenge, because growth requires transparency and trust." Jake beamed with pride as he reinforced her vision, adding financial projections that brought the idea to life. Their alliance had morphed into something powerful, a blend of creativity and business pragmatism. They achieved results beyond her initial dreams. Investors began to show tangible interest, a testament to their labor and shared ideals, and then, fate took an intriguing turn. A few weeks later, Sarah found herself facing the council again, but this time in a different light. She felt a tide of confidence surging through her as she presented a refined, compelling and fully developed proposal incorporating feedback from stakeholders, the culmination of her transformation. Hargrove, seated nearby, met her gaze. For the first time, she sensed not just challenge in his demeanor, but a recognition of her growth. As she articulated her plan, she noticed Hargrove leaning in, curiosity glinting in his eyes, instead of his usual stoic detachment. "Sarah," he interjected, not with hostility, but with a dawning respect, "how do you intend to maintain communication with the community throughout this development process?" The spirit of collaboration he had initially resisted now shone through in his words, laying a foundation for potential partnership. She replied seamlessly, her voice steady and assured. "Engagement will be key. I've established a commitment to regular updates and forums, allowing for ongoing dialogue. This is as much the community's project as it is ours. I want everyone to feel heard and involved." Hargrove nodded thoughtfully, and for the first time, she felt a sense of alignment between them, transcending the past misunderstanding. At that moment, Sarah realized she had not only achieved her immediate goals but had also transformed her own narrative. Months of intensive work, networking, and reflecting back on doubts had forged her into a capable leader. Her confidence was no longer tethered to others' validations, nor was she the girl who once cowered from ridicule. Instead, she embodied resilience, armed with knowledge and determination to lead. As the council convened that day, they voted in favor of her proposal, an electrifying victory that solidified her place in Maplewood's development. The decision landed like a thunderous applause, echoing the years of hard work behind her. Sarah had conquered not just her fears, but also the deeply ingrained beliefs that restricted her. Surveying the room filled with supportive faces, she understood her journey had transcended a singular outcome. It was about building a future constructed from layers of resilience and community spirit. With newfound conviction, she stepped forward with clarity and purpose, ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. In that moment, Sarah felt solid confidence and recognized competence. Her dreams had become achievable realities. Her father's legacy was now intertwined with her own accomplishments, a story of transformation illustrating that through trials, true leaders emerge. Any remnants of self-doubt faded under the brilliance of her accomplishments. This was not merely a personal victory, it was a testament to resilience, adaptability, and the transformative power of collaboration. Each challenge had fueled her growth, affirming her ability to lead with vision and heart. Sarah had proven that sometimes, laughter at dreams could transform into applause for realization, marking a journey of unwavering tenacity and unyielding commitment to her dreams. As she left the chamber, she closed the chapter on her past, but she opened another one ripe with promise that called her to grow even more. With each step forward, she embodied the spirit of change not just for herself, but for the entire community of Maplewood. Now, as you reflect on Sarah's incredible journey of self-discovery, you need to subscribe now to witness more exclusive emotional stories that illuminate personal growth and transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others discover inspiring tales of triumph. Comment below with your reactions and theories about the journey you just experienced, and of course, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share the strength of these empowering stories.